time frame.
1,500?
Oh,
1,500.
yeah, at times we have 1,500 homes active in this town.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, for sale. And that would be on the low side. We've been talking about this for a little bit. I have old charts that they're not anything pretty like this. They're old Excel spreadsheet charts that track basically from 1995 till about 2003, and 1,500 to 2,100 houses was about what Moreno Valley had active at any given time.
And that was before the last building boom, so how many new homes were built here in the last boom?
Yep.
You know?
Well, there's some discussion about the building stuff. I mean, let's face it, if you could build today, God, you'd be sold out tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, so if we're all wondering, wait a minute, how come the builders haven't dusted off the dirt and started building? Well, the reality is the prices are still too low. It still doesn't make sense for them to build. Now, that may very well change within the next 4 or 5 months. The economics of building may change dramatically. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if you start to see new housing starts in Moreno Valley or in the Inland Empire maybe as early as January, February of next year, and you'll probably have lines of people.
Should put that in your
And all I can say is they better sell them and close them quick, because if we end up with investors pulling back and some other things, it's very, very interesting. But anyway, this was my biggest surprise. Paris is flat. Paris actually is the only city out of all of the stuff that we ran that a median price drop, 6.2% in Paris. Okay, and it's basically been flat for, now again, not completely fair. The 6.2% goes back to here. Paris did bottom out here, so it would probably be about maybe a 2% increase or 3% increase from the bottom. But that one really surprised me. I wasn't expecting Paris
It's
to
just too small of a sample size. There aren't that many units that sell out there.
Maybe so, but again, you got to keep in mind, to Mike's point, if there's not that many units that sell, and again, I don't know, there's a lot of people who hate median price. I agree, median price can be a problem. I don't mind median price as long as I have 2 years, 3 years worth of data, okay? Because if you get a spike up in median price or a spike down, you could have had a couple of quirky sales. A high flyer, $1 million property in Paris that sold and screwed everything up. Well, that's going to correct the following month. We're going to see it. So if you look, I mean, it's been flat for 2 years in Paris. And frankly, it's been flat for 2 years pretty much in the Inland Empire up until about 4 months ago. 4 or 5 months ago is when you started to see those gains. And just 1 or 2 more and then we're going to move on. If you're doing business in Rancho's 21% increase since February. And Redlands, Loma Linda, 20% since January. And again, there's that median pricing. That particular spike in July, there was a couple high flyer sales in Redlands that threw those values up.
There always are.
And there always are, right? Rialto, 21%. Riverside, 14% since February. Which, by the way, it's easy to remember. Most of our core markets bottomed in February. So if you just say, if you're talking to a consumer, when did the values peak or drop? If you say February 2012, you're going to be right over 50% of the time. Certainly Moreno Valley, Redlands, Riverside, San Bernardino. I don't know why I didn't do the chart on that, because this is a big number. I missed it. February of 2012. Okay? You compare that to that, I don't know what that number is, but it looks like more than 20%. So at any rate, property values are going up, guys. Duh. Right? Shocked? Shocked and amazed? So, at any rate, it's very, very interesting as it relates to where we're at. And again, I truly see, I see a 20% increase in values, or excuse me, 50% increase in values. I'm going to blow by all of this. What time is it? You can watch it.
20 minutes of 10.
20 till. Okay. These are old numbers from last year. Actually, let's go back to our awards. You got our awards done?
Yeah.
Let's do this real quick, and then I want to do a little bit of Sky Slope stuff for those of you that are interested in it. Okay, we're going to do a do-over. We're going to do a do-over from July, because we didn't have any plaques. So I think last month I was giving out yogurt and flyers.
Yes.
And all the rest of that good stuff. So are you going to redeem your flyer? He still has this flyer.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. So anyway, July 2012. So let's give Mike a hand again. Congratulations, Michael. And again, Team Linda Kugel. I've changed it from Shelly Linda Kugel to Team Linda Kugel because now.
Get my yogurt in my
The
drawer
te-
from last month.
do you still have that? We need to exchange that. So we've got Team Linda Kugel for August of 2012. So you want to come on up, or just want to throw it away? Well, as long as Shelly's coming up representing the team, let's also give her a hand for September. So a double. Congratulations. I'll give her a hug to the ladies. There you go.
And could I introduce my new team member?
You can. I feel.
Say, does he get any credit?
There's something for you.
Many of you know my son Danny, who was in the business with me here a couple years ago. And Danny has moved back from LA, and he's our newest team member. So,
Hey.
so look out.
So watch out. So they're going to try to shut you guys out for the rest of the year. So, and for those of you that are thinking, wait a minute, this isn't fair, you know, they've got 2 people or 3 people working on their team, and I only have 1. We'll go get an assistant.
Bring the dog
Serious.
in.
So, at any rate, so congratulations to the Linda Kugel team, and welcome Danny, looking good over there, and Michael. Again, I'm not giving out a listing award because who took a listing in September? Who took 2?
I took 1.
Who took 3? Who took 3?
Probably, yeah. It's not the MLS,
That's the problem. Okay. I'm kind of setting the floor of 3 listings. If you can't take 3, if you took 3, come and let me know, and I'll do a do-over next month. Okay. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something else before I jump into Sky Slope, because I do want to spend the rest of our meeting. Yeah. Does anybody want to shoot any videos today? Anybody want to do videos? Nobody? Nobody? Okay. If you want to shoot a video today, like we've talked about previously, we will set up the green screen and drag the camera over there. Just let me know, let Brian know, and we're at your disposal. So, okay. Before we spend the rest of our meeting talking about Sky Slope, if there's anybody who's not interested in talking about Sky Slope, we can, feel free to, go about your day. Or if you have any questions that are maybe office related that are not Sky Slope related, maybe we could deal with those now. Anybody got anything they want to throw out there before we jump into our Sky Slope stuff? Or seeing none? Okay. All right. And again, if you're not one of our beta testers and you're not interested in hearing about this right now, that's fine. If you're not one of our beta testers and you want to be one of our beta testers and you don't want to wait until November, raise your hand. Anna will get you added today and you can start playing around. But I'm going to do a little bit different demo than I did last time because we now actually have some data in there and I want to show you guys a little bit of how this is working. I've been doing this demo in every office. My last one is tomorrow in Claremont. And across the board, not that I want to taint your view because I'm looking for criticism. I'm looking for the negatives. But across the board, I haven't heard any negatives. I've heard a couple of suggestions which are good, but they're not like deal killer type negatives. You want to introduce Greg so we can get out of here? Everybody knows Greg?
Hey, Greg.
Greg, REO at maintenance. He needs to go to work, but he would like to say hello.
I just want to
Best
introduce you guys.
drywaller in the history.
What's that?
Best drywaller in the history.
That's true.
As you guys know, many of you guys know Greg. Greg is he's got a couple different hats now. He's going to be doing project management and estimation for you guys in addition to going out and supervising and swinging the hammer. So many of you guys know Jake's no longer with us, so Greg's filling in some of that role along with Catherine. She's backing him up. So if you guys have anything you guys need done, or if you had some different experiences and you want to use Greg, it would be a welcome opportunity to give him a shot. He's the best guy we've ever had with REO Asset by far. His ability to nail the numbers is good. He gets you a real fine pencil, so if you guys need some favors in order to make a deal happen, which happens periodically, you're off by a couple bucks and the other agents want you to come out of pocket in order to do that repair, we'll work with you. Call Greg, explain the situation, and he'll work with you to make that happen. So.
Yeah. I don't know that we're getting a lot of agents. It seems like we kind of ebb and flow with REO Asset. I don't know if we get a lot of agents that really kind of either know or take advantage of what we can do. We've kind of gone from, hey, no job too big or too small, And in some ways, I think that may have hurt us because as we grew, the bigger jobs are a little more complicated. They require more effort. And when we started this maintenance thing, 7, 8 years ago, we really specialized in the small stuff. Okay, the little walkthrough items, the garbage disposals and the loose handles and the pressure wash the driveway type stuff. I don't see a lot of work coming through, those final walkthrough items that really are nuisances, but they need to get done and they're a couple $100 and you need to get them done in a couple of days. I got to tell you, if you haven't used Greg or REO Asset, give them a try with that little stuff, that little crappy stuff that comes up on a walkthrough the day before you need to close. And not that we don't want the carpet and the paint and the bigger jobs, but give them a shot with the small stuff. They'll do it. And Diane's right. I've never seen anybody do a better drywall job
Or
than
the
this
termite
guy before.
repairs.
Termite repairs.
If they don't have to be fumed, you can
Yep.
use it.
Termite repairs.
Fungus.
Yep. All that sort. And again, there's literally no job too small, but let's not go down that road. If you've got some small jobs, some small termites, again, the walkthrough stuff always comes in as an issue, or you're getting ready to close and you need something silly. You just need a bunch of wood all off the side of the house. I know we all have our people and our sources that are doing that, but anyway, give them a shot.
There isn't such thing as a favor with Greg. He's not going to send you a bill for answering the phone.
Right.
So,
Which I think, frankly, has been part of our problem. For those of you that did get a bill for
Answering the phone.
answering the phone, maybe we need to go back and retrench on that. So, anyway, thanks, Greg, for coming in, buddy.
thank you, Lance.
Okay, talk to you soon. Okay, getting back to the Sky Slope. This is the login. Who has logged in before? Okay, a few of you. Actually, more. Okay, 6, 7 of you. Okay, the login is going to be your email address. When you are a brand new user, your password will be 8 zeros. You can go in, you can change it to whatever you want. The only people that can see your files are you, whoever you give your login to, and the administrators. Okay, right now the administrators for this office are basically
Yeah,
me
I
and
think
Anna, and I don't know if we've got Drew in there. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. This is your desktop. Your desktop as a user will look a little different than what I'm showing you because I'm logged in as an admin, but basically, generally the deal is the same. I mentioned a week ago to stay away, if you were beta testing, I mentioned a week ago to stay out of the listing side. You can get in and play around with listings, which by the way, several people have listings in the system right now. The listing checklist is not complete. Let me rephrase that. It's complete, but it's going to be modified. Let's just take a look at Debbie's real quick. By the way, on the listing side, there is basic information you have to add. Okay, everything in red on these screens has to be added. This is the equivalent. Who's got a file? Someone give me a file. Here's a file. This is my prop. Think of Sky Slope as a paper file. This is a perfect file to grab. By the way, it has Durana's business card stapled at the front. Where Durana? She just went to the restroom. By the way, it has Durana's business card stapled to the front. So, at any rate, don't ever go to the restroom again, you'll miss everything. At any rate, think of this sheet as, for those of you that use these type of files and write all of your client's information on the front of it, that's basically scribbling on the front of your file. Basic information that needs to go in. I haven't heard any comments back. I think I mentioned this last time. The only thing that's required is in red. The more you put, the better. The one thing that I don't like being required on here, that I wish they'd take out, is that's the year built. It forces you to put a year built in. Not that that's a big deal. In most cases, you have that when you're taking the listing. But at any rate, that's the information that's required. The contacts tab is, again, if I had my little sample folder in front of me, who's my listing agent, who's my escrow officer, who's my title, who's my whatever it happens to be. Since this is a listing, right now you wouldn't know necessarily who the other agent is or escrow and title. But it basically will just force you to put in very basic information. What's the name of your client? First name, last name. Can't get much harder than that, okay, or simpler than that. It also has a thing for home warranty, not required. If you want to put the seller's agreeing to use Old Republic home warranty or whatever, and you want to put that information in there, you can do that. You do not have to.
Yeah. Do we still have that agreement with Coldwell Banker on the home warranties? If we put one in place on our listings, they'll do the repairs?
We do.
Of course. Okay.
Yep. That's a whole other conversation. But if you use a Coldwell Banker home warranty, which is underwritten by American Home Shield, so basically if it's an American Home Shield home warranty, if you put that in and you sign up, say, hey, I've just taken a brand new listing and I put this in place. There's a lot of companies that do this, by the way. You haven't paid for it yet. You just sent over the thing that says, I want to get this. If something breaks during the term of the listing, they will cover it. Okay? If the listing expires, ultimately falls out, and the seller says they don't want to sell anymore, you don't have to pay for the policy. Okay, now obviously the end game is you're going to sell the house and you're going to put on a Coldwell Banker mortgage, Coldwell Banker home warranty or American Home Shield warranty, but that is still available. But anyway, if you have that information, you can put it in there, and then you get to the checklist. Now this is the checklist. I mentioned a week or so ago, if you were beta testing, to leave the checklist alone. Not leave it alone, but just understand it's not completely complete. But this is, I don't have an actual hard copy of it, but everybody's familiar with our paper checklist. This is what you need. Okay. Now, I'm assuming, I bet most of you probably don't even use the checklist until you're ready to close escrow. You know what you need, you pull your forms out, and then you know, 2 days before close or 2 days after close, you pull the checklist out to make sure you've got it. Well, anyway, this is, well, the file's never complete. Right, but this is everything that we want you to have on a listing. Okay. And what I haven't heard, for example, I have made this form required. I'm waiting for somebody to give me some feedback, which, by the way, if you are going to beta test between now and the end of the month, that's kind of the deal that we're making. You know, tell me what you like and what you don't, and I'm getting very little feedback back. But anyway, down here at the bottom, I have made required the market condition advisory form.
I just started using it.
Well, I don't know how you guys feel about that. I would assume somebody would have came to me and said, really? Do we have to use the market? You know, I could probably be persuaded to take that off,
Is that it?
okay? But at any rate, right now, and by the way, that's the type of feedback, but that is not a DRE required form, by the way.
What's
Okay?
an FLD?
An FLD is a flood lead-based paint. Yeah,
Oh.
federal lead-based paint.
Oh, yeah, that makes
And
sense.
again, that's a good, does it not have it described out here somewhere?
Nothing, no, it's just, and there's a couple like COP.
COP is cooperating something commission or something like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that it's just abbreviations with, but not on the listing, it's on the,
It's on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay, what we're trying to do is we're trying to organize this in such a way as it kind of sort of makes sense. If it does have a CAR form number or WinForms number, we're giving you the little code for the TDS and then we're spelling out what it is. Again, I haven't got a lot of feedback on the order. I got to tell you, I personally don't like the order right
No.
now. I don't know whether I want to make it alphabetical or I don't know,
No.
but we're definitely going to change the physical order
go
from
back
1
to
to
the
20.
sheet, the
We could-
sign-in sheet.
We could go back to the sheet. Could go back to the sheet.
That's,
But at any rate, here's our listing side. And again, you upload documents into the buyer, into the document tab. I'm not going to go through that right now because I want to go into a transaction because there seems to be a little bit more meat and potatoes into the transaction side. But again, very simple. You open up, in effect, the equivalent of writing down the basic information in SkySlope onto the form. It is assigned an email address. We've talked about what the effects of the email and trying to get documents into the system. And then you will, in effect, be uploading the documents into the Documents tab. And then from the Documents tab, you're going to put them onto the checklist. So let's go to a transaction, because those tend, which by the way, in case you haven't done this yet, if you have a listing that then ultimately sells and goes into escrow, you basically just convert that listing into a transaction. You don't have to copy the file over. It will carry over all of the stuff that's in the listing checklist and just push it right on over onto the transaction checklist. If you're representing the buyer only, obviously that's not important to you what the listing agent has, and they have to deal with that on their own.
How about if Chris and I do a transaction together? Do we
In-house?
both have to do a separate file, or
That's
do
a,
we?
that's a really good question. I haven't talked to the SkySlope folks on that yet, but I'm thinking the answer is probably yes. And for there's probably, I thought this through and thought, well, geez, that seems kind of ridiculous. But then I also can imagine there's probably more than one agent in the office where maybe if it was you and Chris, you'd be comfortable sharing a file. But if it was you and I, you're like, Lance's file management sucks. I don't want to deal with him.
Or I don't want you to have access to my
Right.
seller and all their information.
Correct. So the way it's currently set up and the way I think it will probably remain is if we're doing an in-house deal, each of you will have your own file. Okay. Internally on the admin side, we may do something differently in that, but pretty much I'm pretty sure we'll have our own file. Which, by the way, if you kind of get lost in here, if you come in and click on the Coldwell Banker logo, the Coldwell Banker logo always takes you back to the to the home screen I'm on right now. The transaction screen, you know, I wish they'd rename it. I just wish that would say like open escrows or pending escrows or something like that. Transaction is the equivalent of I have an open escrow. Doesn't matter whether you were the listing agent that went into escrow or whether you were the buyer side agent that went into escrow. You will click on your transaction. When I go to transaction, I'm going to see all of the transactions that have been uploaded. You, of course, will only see yours. All right. I want to grab one.
Ours says pending transactions.
Oh, it does say pending transactions? Ah, okay. So on your guys' side, it says pending transactions, which, okay, well, fair enough. What's the one that you wanted me to look at that you're closing? Sorrel. Okay, we're going to take it. Is it okay if we look at this? No problem with that.
Did you make a mess?
Okay, we're going to take a look at one that Debbie's been playing with. Again, she's got her basic information plugged in. She's got her contact information plugged in. And I don't know if you've got escrow and title in here, but let's just go down to the agent side, for example. Agent representing the agent representing the other side. This does save this information. I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, but next time Debbie does a deal with Lonnie Vogler at Vogler Foreign Realty, when she starts typing in that information, it's got a little pick list on there, and you start typing in and say, oh, do you want to, is it Lonnie? Is that who you want to do? And then you can just say, that is unique to the user. It's not company-wide. So, which I kind of thought would be kind of cool. If I did a deal with Sally at Main Street Realty, it would save it so that Shelly 6 months later goes into escrow, so she could just start typing in Sally and it would just pop it up, and Shelly could say, oh cool, Sally's information's already in here. It doesn't do that. It will do it for you though. So for you specifically, we'll have your own little memorized little database of customers and agents and vendors. Again, when you're filling these out for the first time, it does require, by the way, we talked this more than once, no more sales reports. Okay? If you fill this information out correctly, I don't need a sales report. All right? And partially that helps because it asks what the sales price is, what's the commission. In this particular case, Debbie doesn't know or she does know, she didn't care to put it in, which is fine. But I'm interested in what the sales commission is on her side of the transaction. Again, percent or dollar amount, either way. It has things in there for referrals. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It also, we talked about this before, down in the lower right-hand corner, it talks about deposit checks, what we did with it, and where all the rest of that stuff is. The property tab, completely optional. Okay? If you do not want to take the time to fill in bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, two-car garage, skip it. There's nothing on this page that's required. That's just strictly for your pleasure only. Then we get to the checklist. I'm going to assume this one's almost ready to go. Okay. All right. So this is our checklist. Before we get to the checklist, let me go to the document side. Okay. On the document side, think of the documents folder as your folder. As you are getting stuff and putting it into your file, it's going into the folder. The documents tab is your file folder. Okay. I think I used this example last week, but I'll use it again because it's a good one. Let's pretend for a moment that you are the listing agent and you have a transfer disclosure statement signed by Mrs. Seller. But Mr. Seller, for whatever reason, forgot to sign that one. Okay? You have a partially executed transfer disclosure in the file, right? You then realize later on, oh crud, Mr. Seller forgot to sign it. You then go back and you get Mr. Seller's signature, right? Then what do you do with it? Put it in the file. Do you throw the first one away? Let's leave that alone for a minute. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's possible you now have two TDSs in the file. One signed by the seller's wife and the other one signed by the husband. Now 3 days later, you open escrow and you give the TDS over to the buyer's agent in whatever form, email or hand it to them, and then they send it back, and what's wrong with it? It's not fully executed. So you now have a third copy of the TDS in the file. Okay? You send them an email back that says, hey, you forgot to sign page 3, and then they send it back, and now you have a fourth TDS in the file. And then you realize that upon further review, crap. Not only did they forget to sign the last page, the husband forgot to initial the bottom of the first page. So you send it back again, and then they finally send back a fully executed TDS. Does this happen all the time? All the time. So now you have 5 versions of a TDS in the file. 1 fully executed, 5 partially executed. Now, some of you are taking those other 4 TDSs, I've done this by the way, and saying, Shredder, I don't need that, my file is getting too thick, right? I don't want those. Some of you are not. Some of you are, not only are you not throwing them away, when you turn in your file, they're in the file. And now whoever's auditing that file now says, geez, I thought I already saw a TDS. Now I've got version 3, 4, 5. Now again, the different practices with different agents, and quite honestly, different practices within different offices. What we do in Marina Valley isn't necessarily the same thing they're doing in Claremont Covina. So at any rate, bottom line is, the file, this file does not matter how fat it is, okay? So you can have partially executed TDS, partially executed TDS, partially executed TDS, fully executed TDS. You leave the other ones in the file, okay? Just leave them in there. Which, by the way, from a pure legal perspective, maybe not so much on the TDS, but could that be a little more important to have that maybe on a contract? Maybe you get into court and someone says, hey, wait a minute, on that particular date and time, I didn't sign the contract. My wife did, but I didn't. I could see a scenario where it would be nice for us to be able to produce what we had as opposed to what we had and then threw in the shredder. Okay? So in that particular case, I don't care how many partially executed documents you have. Just put them in the file. If the file's 4 inches thick, we don't care because it's all electronic. When you finally have the final fully executed version of the TDS, you go to your checklist. Which, by the way, those of you using this, has the speed been okay for you?
Yeah.
Has been okay? Good. Okay. I'll just blow right by that. I notice when I click, and I'm on the Wi-Fi in the office, when I click from tab to tab, there seems to be a little bit of delay. I don't know if that's us or not. But anyway, let's go find the TDS. Which, by the way, if you haven't figured this out, there's different kind of groups on the checklist. The first one is what we call sales documentation. It's like contract-related stuff. The second group is disclosure-related information, and that's where the TDS is. Now, it looks like Debbie has already done this, okay? There's a transfer disclosure statement. Debbie has uploaded this, and it says pending, because I'm logged in as the admin, okay? This is waiting for the admin to approve or reject Debbie's transfer disclosure statement. And frankly, Debbie has a whole bunch of things that are waiting for us to approve. What does it say on your side? Does it say pending on your side? Why don't you take a look at it and see what it says on this side. But anyway, Debbie wants to upload this, and here's a copy of what she's loaded. Hopefully it's a TDS. It is. Everybody want to put your manager hat on now? Let's play manager. It's okay. On Debbie's side, it says in review. She's waiting for a manager to approve this. So let's take a look at Debbie's TDS and see if we can approve this. We've got a date. We've got an address. We've got a year built. We've got a date. We've got a box that's checked. We've got a whole bunch of other boxes checked. We've got a buyer's initial, a seller's initial, a whole bunch more boxes. And we've got a seller's signature and initial, and a buyer's initial. And we have an address and a date. We've got agent signed. Debbie put no comments on there. Is that a problem?
She didn't check a box under.
Yeah. Okay. Debbie has signed this. Did you use the electronic signature? Yeah. Good. Okay. I don't want to turn this into a disclosure class, but let's pretend we're doing this for real here. Agent's inspection, the undersigned, which is Debbie, based upon reasonably competent, diligent, visual inspection of the accessible areas of the property, states the following. See attached, Avid, agent notes, okay? Something should be checked, okay? I've done my Avid, agent notes, no items to disclose, which basically is what you've done. You have nothing to disclose. So in this particular case, there really probably should be at least 2 boxes checked on this form. See my avid, because we are doing avids. Even if it's blank and there's nothing to disclose, we're still doing an avid. And also, even if your avid has nothing to disclose, agent notes no items for disclosure. So, I'm going to reject Debbie's TDS. So,
And just because you said put your manager hat on,
Yep.
there's always something.
there's always something. Yeah, there's always.
Never check
Which is why I've really created a huge can of worms on the administration side of this, because this is really going to force us to do what we should have been doing forever. And bottom line is, if Debbie's already sent me an email on this particular file that says, hey, I'm getting ready to close in a couple of days. And by the way, I need this feedback. If we're going to, I was going to say force you guys to use this. If we're going to encourage you guys to use this, and you are using it, and on your side, what does it say right here? Waiting approval?
In review.
In review. If you're uploading all these documents and they're just in review, in review, in review, in review, in review, in review, and they've been there for 30 days, and now you're going to close escrow tomorrow, and then all of a sudden I send you back 30 days later, you missed an initial, you missed a signature, you're going to be pissed. Are you kidding me? I gave that to you 30 days ago to review. I'm using the program, and you took 30 days to review it, and now you tell me I got to go back and get 16 initials and 16 signatures? So we've got to be geared up on the admin side as well. But basically, this is how this is going to work. I'm going to reject Debbie's TDS, and I'm not sure I'm doing this completely right. So I'm going to type a note in here. I'm going to put, please complete agents inspection section. Need to check some boxes. I probably could be a little bit more thorough than that, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to fill it out. It's going to put a note in here that says what I just did. And then I think I need to click the reject button. And I reject it. And that, oops, got some pop-up issues here too. Okay, now it still shows pending, but I believe, oops, I'm pushing the wrong button. Yeah, got that.
Submit. No, you hit submit.
Okay, all right, I think that did what I needed it to do. Now, if I go down to the TDS, okay, now it still shows, again, I'm still learning on this as well. Did that change on your side, Debbie? But actually, I didn't type in a second note. The note that I was supposed to type in, it shouldn't be sitting there. Again, we're still learning. It did change on your side?
There's 2 entries for TDS.
And now it says incomplete? Okay. On my side, it still shows pending, but on Debbie's side as the user, it now basically has this note in here. And it says it went from in review to what?
In review to incomplete.
To incomplete. So now we've sent that back to the agent, and the agent now knows, oh, wait a minute, I got to go back and I got to fix something. Okay. Now, hopefully, let's do one more. Let's do a. Let's grab something that should maybe be a little bit easier. Let's take the seller's advisory. Kind of hard to screw that one up. Let's see. Oh, and Debbie put a note on here. You uploaded a document not required on buyer side.
Right.
Okay. So no, that's correct. What she's talking, and this is where we need to clean our file up. The what was I clicking on? Seller's advisory. Seller's advisory is the last 2 pages of the listing agreement. Debbie is not the listing agent. Okay. So she, which by the way, you don't need to do what she did. She uploaded a document that says it's not required. This is what you could do, is just come in here under seller's advisory and put in the same thing she put. You know, not. And this is the type of thing that we need to hear some feedback, so we maybe just get rid of this altogether. Not required on buyer side. Okay.
So on ours, where the status says required, doesn't mean we have to upload something
It should, but this is what you can do. For now, where did it go?
The seller's advisory with the listing agreement.
It should be on the listing side, correct. So I'm going to accept this. Okay, now I don't know what it's going to, oh, actually it did change. Down here, I guess I needed to refresh my screen. The TDS now went from pending to incomplete. So it's now telling both of us the TDS isn't done. And then on the buyer side, this one I am going to complete. So I'm going to accept.
There's 2 TDS
Ah,
Number two,
see?
well,
2
Yes.
TDSs. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, but I'm going to accept the fact that the seller's advisory is not required on this. Or let's just pretend that the seller's advisory was in there and it was signed properly and everything's fine. And we just click the accept button. That's going to change this from pending to complete. So on both sides of the checklist now, it's completed. Now, if you're doing this in one sitting, this is a big deal. It's a lot of work.
Uh-huh.
If you're doing this over the life of a transaction, this is not that big of a deal. Okay? Your average transaction is 45 days, putting some papers in, 6 months. Okay? If you're doing this over the life of a transaction, this really should be one of those things that, wow, this isn't that big of a deal. Upload, you gotta put it in the file anyway, right? Just get it in the file and away you go. Let me show you another one that's nearly complete. There's an agent in Redlands who's getting ready to close something up here, and this is hopefully what they want their file to look like. Oh crud! I don't remember the name of the street.
Oh, crud.
are you gonna search by-
You can't search on this particular screen. You cannot search by agent. You have to search by property. But we don't have that many in here. It should be hopefully easy to find. I'm looking for Paulette, by the way. If everybody sees Paulette's name. Paulette.
Agent on the top and it will alphabetize it.
It does?
Yeah.
Ah, thank you, Anna. Ah, look at you.
Go in.
All right, so let's- Oops, okay, one. This that looks like my last name, right? Let's jump to, it should be probably the very first one. Oh, Diane, look at you, show off. Okay, all right, here it is. All right, this property is going to close escrow, everything on Friday. So here's Paulette's deal. I'm now the admin on Paulette's deal.
Poor Paula.
Okay.
Paulette, her last
And
name.
okay, her file's almost done. Okay, she's got her RPA. There's a whole bunch, and again, I don't know if we want to show all this stuff in here. You're not always going to have a PPA. You're not always going to have counter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so maybe we just need to clear that stuff out. You know,
Can we get rid of the
maybe it's just
BBA?
clutter. You just, you
Yeah.
know, if you have a counter offer, you just add it in. I don't know. We'll figure that out. And then her short sale addendum has been completed, which basically means she has submitted it and the admin has approved it. Her prelim, her escrow instructions, her earnest money deposit, her commission instructions have all been updated and approved. So the admin in Redlands is on their game. She's got 4 items on the contract side that haven't been approved yet. The FERPTA for the buyer, FERPTA for the seller, the SSD, what's the SSD? Short sale disclosure?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to name that better. And the Megan's Law,
Statutory,
statewide,
Yeah,
yeah, it's,
statewide statutory disclosure,
no, it's the
supplemental.
supplemental,
supplemental.
instead of the.
It's the SSD.
page.
And we will, specifically for, I mean, we've been doing this a long time and we all get confused. We will put dash, real name, so you know what we're talking about. Right, those need to be obviously approved, so she knows, right, this hopefully is the beauty of the program, and you guys will see the benefit of this. There should be no surprises on your side what you're missing. You go in, oh gee, I need 4 more things, I'm good to go. I get those 4 things, I get paid, okay?
Why is the Megan's Law on there?
Yeah.
Why is Megan's Law?
Yeah, some agents have.
Is that a contract?
It is in the contract, I tend to
No,
agree
you
with you.
said-
I think we probably should on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get rid of it. It is in the contract, and I hate that form anyway. So, it's in, yeah, great input. Let's get rid of that. So we'll nuke that completely. We won't even make it applicable. But on her disclosure side, she's pretty much done. We don't have the earthquake booklet yet, so she's waiting on getting a signature on the earthquake booklet. We'll probably rename that. So anyway, as you can see, her file
Pretty skippy.
is almost done. Okay, she's got a few items that she needs to do, but that's it. Okay, now she's also put on some new stuff. She's added a couple of things here and there, and attached a couple of things. But keep in mind, the checklist is, if you had it taped to the front, just you check it off as you go. The file is all the crap that's behind it. And in her case, if you go to the Documents tab, again, that's the body of your file. And she's uploaded, again, I don't know why, and I don't know that I really care. She's uploaded,
23,000.
well, 4 FERPTAs, 2 for the seller and 2 for the buyer. It's in the file, it's stuffed in there somewhere. One of those got attached to the checklist. If I want to see which one got attached to the checklist, I just go to the checklist. I don't have to go to the file. I go back to the checklist, I look for seller's FERPTA, and I click on it, and hopefully, if this is being done right, the, I missed
The
it.
red tax,
It's red?
because you haven't, it hasn't been checked yet.
Hasn't been reviewed.
There you go.
Okay, here's the buyer's side. Now she, again, she's now, it hasn't been reviewed yet, so maybe we'll do somebody a favor and we'll review this for her. So there's the FERPTA statement by a qualified substitute. This is actually coming from escrow. She's not using the car form. So at least the escrow document's been executed. So if I like that, I guess I could approve it.
Two sellers.
Huh?
There's probably 2 buyers and 2 sellers.
Possibly.
So they each have to
Anyway,
have
I'm gonna
their own
go
FERPA.
screw up the folks in Redlands. I just accepted it.
Because there's a-
Met my approval. It went from pending to completed, it's done.
And
Very
it'll show your name that you approved.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoever the admin was logged in. So now I'll get a phone call from Beverly and Redlands saying, what the hell are you doing approving documents in my queue?
Yeah, there you
And by the way, that's not the right FERPTA. We don't accept the one from escrow. We only want the car form, which isn't true. But those are the fights that I get to have behind the scenes. So anyway, so that's her file. I mean, it's basically pretty much ready to rock and roll and finish. Again, I don't know if this is the case on this, but I'll just use it as another example on the Documents tab. If you have multiple forms, don't worry about it. Just have your 5 TDSs loaded in here. If you want to name them differently just for your own process, you can name them, FERPTA incomplete, or partial, FERPTA fully executed, whatever.
Buyer one only, buyer
You could scan them all together if you wanted to. Don't really care, because again, at the end of the day, if we need to look at the file, we can just print all the PDFs out, throw it all over the conference room table and take a look at what we've got. But in theory, we should never have to do that. So that is, and again, I'm going to review quickly, which I think all of you guys already know, but everybody's comfortable on getting documents into the
Can
system?
you show us how to do the DigiSign part of that?
I don't know how to do the DigiSign. We'll do
That's
that.
okay, yeah.
We'll do our beta testers. Will get together in a week, and from what I understand, it's super duper duper easy.
Okay, because
Understand? So we'll make that happen.
I just split me.
Split.
That's
Okay.
cool.
I'll tell you what.
That's fun.
Split is so fun. Okay, and again, this is a real file. I don't necessarily want to screw up Paulette's file, but I'll screw it up a little bit. Let's suppose you got an email from the agent on the other side of the transaction, and they sent you an email with a PDF, and it had all of the disclosures on there.
Okay.
All of them lumped together, 40 pages of disclosures, all mixed together. It's going to come in, maybe they named it for you nicely, maybe they just gave you one of these, which is just the scanner, pre-assigned, PDF name. So what you will do is, once you've got that document in there, I don't know what this is, but hopefully it's something big, you click the split button, and the split button will bring you up what that PDF is. And in this particular case, this is probably going to be a good example. This is a 7-page PDF. I know for a fact that the Megan's Law disclosure is not 7 pages long, so there's something else on this PDF. So let's take a peek at it real quick. And by the way, this isn't visually friendly because my computer monitor is small. But anyway, page 1 looks like a TDS, or excuse me, Megan's Law. Page 2 is the supplemental stature, and then we've got the FERPTA, and we've got the affidavit, and we've got looks like the buyer's affidavit. Okay, so you got a whole bunch of stuff. So this is how this works. Let's just do it right now. And again, I'm going to screw up Paula's file a little bit.
She's loaded in the unsigned documents.
Right, exactly. We're just going to load it in, and I'm just going to put test on here. So this is what it is. Page 1 is Megan's Law, right? So this is what you do. Page 1, 2-1 is the Megan's Law
Have you
disclosure.
had problems trying to click on the numbering and not having it take?
No. Over here? The number
Yes.
side?
Yes.
I think I've had a little bit of a problem.
Mine's been
with that, but I
huge.
You talking about over here?
Yeah,
I know that you can only put in 14 at a time, so if you have a 100-page
No.
PDF with 15 documents, you have
I
to stop
can't
at
get
14.
in there at all sometimes.
You probably, there may be a pop-up thing going on there. Try to eliminate your pop-up blockers. Let me finish up with this. So page 1 is Megan's Law, I hit the arrow. Page 2 is the supplemental statutory, and also, okay, that's just a one-pager, so I put page 2 to 2. There's a supplemental statutory disclosure, and I'm just gonna put sample, so you don't screw up your file. And again, this is your description. You can be as detailed in your description as you wanna be. Let's suppose, again, it's partially executed, so you might wanna put in here, partially executed contract or whatever. You can type it in so that you know this is not the final version of what you need, okay? Then I tab over to page 3, and that looks like my, what was it, the seller's script or whatever? So page 3 of 3 is seller, buyer, okay, buyers. Spelling doesn't count. And then I say, okay, what's page 4? Page 4 is the seller's affidavit and non-foreign. So that's the seller's script, right? FIRPTA. And again, I can put in my whole thing. Maybe I know that this one's wrong, so I can, put a little note to myself, incomplete. You know what I'm saying? Incomplete. And that's page, oops, looks like that's got a 2-pager, so that's actually page 4 and 5. And then page 6, and then this is the other one. Okay, then I'm just gonna put 6 and 7 in, oops. Page 6 and 7 is whatever page 6 and 7 is, okay? So, I've now taken my PDF, which is annoying as all get out. I mean, do you love getting those PDFs? I know Drew hates them when we get them on the REO side. We get a PDF, it's got all this crap in there, and certain things need to go to certain people, and you have to either print it out or you have to break it up in Adobe PDF splitter. So anyway, if you now split your thing up, you click split, and it's going to take that PDF and it's going to split it up, and it's going to put them in your,
Boy, is she gonna have a spit.
it's going to put them in your folder. So you now have, this is my blah, 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 blah. Here's my impotence FERPTA. Here's my buyers. Here's my sample. Here's my Megan's Law sample. Oh, and then by the way, the original 7-page PDF that was sent to you
It's still there.
is still there. It's right here. So there's the one. So if I highlight on that, the original 7 pages is still in the file.
So if you missed something when you were whizzing through.
Which also gets to, and again, it may not be necessary, if we kept all of this crap and you were forced to turn it into Anna, right? Our files are gonna be this big. It doesn't matter anymore. Put it in there, okay? And again, not that it's a huge deal, but it could be. Let's suppose there's a legal debate as to who and when and how we got this information. If you needed to, assuming this came in the form of an email, you could say on February 10th at 3 o'clock, the buyer's agent sent me an email with the 7 following documents in the form of a PDF. And there it is. And that's and I know some of you have already seen this demo, but
Well, the clock's off on that.
the clock is off?
Yes.
Eastern time, or what is it?
I don't know, it's said it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, let me, okay, this is Middlecoff, this is, and again, we're gonna screw up Paulette's deal. This is Middlecoff 34880 on Sky Slope. Somebody remember that address, okay? I'm gonna go to, bear with me a little bit. By the way, we're gonna be done in about 5 minutes, so if you guys are getting antsy or you have other appointments, we'll wrap this up, we're almost done. Okay, well, I'm waiting for this to pull up. I mentioned this previously. If you're in escrow, let's say Stephen Browers and I are in escrow, and he's an outside agent, and I'm gonna take total control of this deal from the beginning. Maybe I'm gonna do it nicely, or maybe I'm gonna be an ass about it. But in any way, I say, Stephen, if you wanna do business with me and my seller, as a contingency, which of course you can't do, but as a contingency of our acceptance, I'm requiring that every correspondence that we do on this file is done in the form of an email, And I'm also requiring that you email it to a special address that I'm going to give you. Now, Stephen and I know each other, and he's a nice guy, and he's techie, he's like, sure, thanks, no big deal. So you just want me to email to a special address? And I say, or he says, F you. But anyway, let's just suppose that Stephen and I have that buy-in. So this is how this is going to work. I'm going to send an email. Anybody remember what that email address was? It's important. Middlecoff34880.
Yeah, hopefully you don't put a drive in there.
Well, I could copy and paste, but I'm doing this internal server, which is a whole nother story. middlecoff3480 at skyslope.com.
That was close.
Say no. I'm gonna do test to
How
collect.
did you spell Sky's Love right?
That's important. Yeah, by the way, typing, spelling counts on these. Okay, now, I'm going to type in a very nice email. Steve, you suck. My client's pissed off. You promised. You didn't perform. Attorney's been notified. And by the way,
You gotta spell Sky's Love right.
is
Yeah,
this guy's still wrong?
that's the
Oh, okay,
third time.
thank you. I thought you guys were joking.
No.
All right, I'll get it. Give me a second. All right, so let me just grab a PDF of some form. Okay, let's try this market share report, 2009. Okay, let's fix SkySlope. Again, this, it's, don't get sloppy fingers here or you're going to be in trouble. Middlecoff34880 skyslope.com.
Is
Okay,
that a comma or a dot?
that's it. Done.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so there's my email. I am the buyer's agent, Steve is the listing agent. I'm sending him a letter from the attorney, and I've written him a nasty grant, okay? Now, I'm gonna send it. I did this the last couple of times, it was almost instantaneous. Someone start their stopwatch. Okay, I've sent the email. I'm now going back into SkySlope. I need to refresh this. And if we've done it right, it's not there.
Well, we like that.
If we've done it right, okay, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Ah, there it is. Okay, so now I just sent Steve an email. This is the letter that was attached from my attorney. Okay. Now I can rename it. Right now it's I can look at it real quick. And by the way, Steve's not in front of his email. Stephen hasn't even checked his email yet. He's out and about doing his thing. This is just sitting there waiting for him in the file. Just sitting there saying, hey, there it is. You can hover over it. It'll give you a real quick view of what it is. And okay, there it is. He can rename it. Letter from buyer's jerk attorney. Do what he wants. The email that was sent in is on the log. And it's right here. So an email came in today at 10:28. Email received. It came from Lance. The middle cop was test to Paulette. I probably need to call Paulette and tell her I'm screwing up the file. And then if I want to see that email, I can click on it. And of course, this is also in Steve's email client, his Yahoo account or whatever he uses. And then here it is. You're a jerk, you lied, you cheated, attorney letter attached, on file. Now, let's suppose that the listing agent or the other agent is not as cooperative when it comes to using our special email address. Okay? They don't want to use our special email address. Well, that's fine. Now that email is sitting in Steve's regular inbox. So let's see if I can find something in my inbox that has an attachment. Here's an email. The same exact email, but it's now sitting in my inbox. Here is the important documents that I need that are in my email. Instead of printing them out and putting them in the file, right? I'm just going to forward this email into the SkySlope address. So I'm going to do forward. Tweak this a little bit. My email client's a little goofy when it comes to this. Okay, middle. There's a cop COFF 34880. SKYSLOPE.com. Now, if I want to put a little note in here, I can choose to put a note in here. Put a note to myself. This is the mean email that Steven sent me this morning at 10 o'clock. I better talk to my broker, whatever happens to be. I click send. And now that same email, because Steve didn't want to cooperate with me and email automatically, should be now sitting in my document center. 2001, 2002. And there it is. Okay. So the same email is sitting there. Here's the attachments that were, there was 2 attachments. I don't know if you noticed that email had 2 attachments. It had a Haven Realty application and a CAR lease. And then of course the email is in the document set. You guys digging this? If you're not digging it, I would suggest, I don't mean to be insulting of anybody. If you don't dig this, you either have not closed enough transactions to understand how valuable this is, or the technology is just terrifying to you. Both of those situations we need to overcome. Because if you're going to close more than a deal a year, you're going to dig this. Quite honestly, if you're a team, I got to tell you, I'm more excited about this from if I was a team member, if I was the head of a team, I would super duper dig this. Because, first of all, you don't have to worry about, number one, also where your files are.
Right.
I mean, all your files are there. They're accessible to anybody on your team. You can email out of here anytime you want. I think I used this example last week. Let's suppose Paulette's got this deal closed, right? The deal closes. I don't know about you guys, but every year, sometime between March, April, certainly February, March, April, and most of the time it's right around April 14th, I get a phone call from a client that says, hey Lance, I'm going to close escrow. I'm at my tax guys, and I really need you to get me a copy of that closing statement that we closed a year ago. Okay, now some of us, no big deal, I have that at the tip of my fingers. Most of us don't have that at the tip of your fingers. You literally, not only do you have that at the tip of your fingers, you have everything on the tip of your fingers. Open escrows, closed escrows. You can go right in there. Let's just use the example I just used. By the way, here's the email I just forwarded in again, the second email. I can go to my documents list, and they asked me for a, whatever. They asked me for, let's just pretend that this is the closing statement. Right from here, and I've never done this. Anybody do this yet?
No.
I think I click the box I want, and I go up here and I click email.
Oh, I've done it, it's cool.
And then you can just email it to whoever you want. So you just email them out the HUD, or you, and by the way, you do the same thing. Again, Shelly and Jim just got back from Hawaii. I don't think Danny was completely on board. They're trying to relax. They're at the pool, but they're good quality agents and they're always working. Someone calls them on a deal. It's an emergency. I have to have a copy of the termite report or my world's going to end. Okay? Well, pop open the laptop, 123 Main Street, termite report, email, click, done. Don't have to call back to the office. You don't have to try to find it. You don't have to anything. You guys digging this?
Yes.
So,
Emails in and out, question for you, and,
yeah.
It tells you you did it.
yeah.
Right, and all of that stuff, if I had sent that email, it all would have been in the log and everything is there. And again, this is doing multiple things, guys. I mean, I think, quite honestly, from an end user perspective, you guys should love this. It should make you guys super efficient and rock your socks off. From our side of the fence, it does multiple things. It actually gets us compliant with DRE. It eliminates, see, Anna doesn't have it. Remember a month ago, Anna had all those files stacked up?
You burned them.
We don't have any more of those anymore. They're gone. It gets us compliant. Our archiving is good. You can go back. We're going to keep these files for 3 years. SkySlope keeps them, I think, for 5. We are not keeping them for 5. We're going to keep them for 3 years and a day. On the 3rd, whatever day that is, we're going to go in and we're going to delete those files. If you are like me and many other agents, if you want to at any time pull a hard copy, burn it to a CD, keep it on your own computer, whatever you want to do, give it to your client, whatever. You can do all that. Internally, our attorney has told us, get rid of those suckers after 3 years because we don't have to keep them after 3 years. So that's what we're going to do. But you will have access to all of the, even the canceled files, the open file, you will have access to them up until the day we delete them. I saw at least one hand go up. I missed.
So once we've uploaded them to our file, we can shred the originals?
Correct. I don't want to file from you anymore. And by the way, even though we're testing, this is a live test. If this is, we're not pretending here. Everything you put in here at close of escrow, that is your file. I do not want you to go to Anna and say, here's my file. So for all of those of you that are currently testing, if you want to keep your hard copy file and do whatever you want, but that's fine. But we don't want it. And we don't want
Okay.
we're not required to have original wet signatures. Gary eliminated that years ago. Because quite honestly, how many people have original wet signatures?
Once.
Well, the reality is you can never have original wet signatures on 100% of the file anyway, unless you're double ending it. Most of the time, it's on the other side. And even if you are truly representing the client, 95% of my clients are sending documents back in the form of email. Perfectly legal, perfectly acceptable. Don't have to have blue ink on the page. Yeah.
When you enter a transaction and, let's say you represent the buyer, and all of a sudden the appraisal doesn't come in, how do you modify the purchase price once you're in there? But let's say you entered in.
So you have one dead deal and one new deal? And you want
No.
Well,
Just
I
change.
have-
Oh, you just want to change the price? It doesn't let you change the price?
I don't know where that's at. I have.
Well, I think you go to probably commission maybe? I thought that's where I saw the price. Let's see if it'll, it's $275, so appraisal comes in at $222.
There you go.
I think you change it here and you click something. Is there a submit button here somewhere? Oh, next.
Well, yeah, and is that all you do?
Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Let's see if it kept. Was there a submit button?
Yeah.
Well, it must have, where'd the submit button go?
On next, it's right where the next is on the next page.
This next?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it changed it. Let me change it back. So yeah, you change it here.
But you have to, it doesn't auto populate the commission. You have to go in there and manually do it yourself as well.
No,
right?
I think it will if you put in a percentage.
No.
It doesn't?
Wrong.
Wow. Okay, so just so we're all on the same page, apparently if you go to commission and you,
No.
no.
It
Doesn't.
doesn't go over to office growth either.
I think on this, this is designed, I know Debbie did this on hers, yours was, apparently wasn't an easy percentage, it was like $2,200 or whatever. You type it in, 3% or 28.52,
And if you put the dollar amount in, then it does auto-populate it over to the office gross commission.
Oh, it does.
Percentage, it won't do it.
Where is the office gross commission?
On your right,
On
the right,
Oh,
scroll
we got
down.
it.
yes.
Oh, okay. We'll play with that sort of stuff. And as much as you guys may think that's important to you, which it sounds like it is, that's obviously something we'd like to take a look at as well. Just from, because again, one of the things I love about this is, frankly, you guys suck when it comes to turning in sales reports. You're terrible. Specifically, you buyer's agents. The listing agents, you're just as bad, but I don't have as much heartburn with you because at least you're pretty good about putting your escrow pending in the MLS. You don't turn in your sales report, but at least you put it pending. So now we know. Shirley put something pending. Still won't give me a sales report, but at least I know you've got 123 Main Street in escrow. Debbie, I'll pick on her. She represents buyers. She's terrible. I never know when she's closed an escrow or when she's open an escrow till it's closed. I've been griping for sales reports forever. You know, Shelley and I pull our hair out. The other managers pull our hair out forever. You guys don't do it. Drew says I'm stupid for even asking anymore.
Yep.
No more sales reports. No more sales reports. Now again, you have to use this. Now if you don't use it, that'll be a different conversation. If Shirley, for example, chooses not to use this, and there will be multiple responses depending upon who I'm talking to. Okay, you're special. Okay, you're not special, here's your license. Or maybe something in between that. I don't know.
$250.
Or, well, that, we talked about that a little bit at the last deal. I'm 90% to the point where if you choose not to use it and I allow you to work in the office, you will have to pay. you'll have to pay $100 for the pleasure of not you, because now somebody has to go
It's gonna
through
take them a day.
and clean it up. Right.
It's a day's worth.
But the reality is, and again, I haven't made this decision, so if you're falling into this category, don't freak out. But I really don't want anybody working here that can't use this program. I really don't.
Like Daddy.
If you can't use it, I don't think I want you working for me or with me. So, you got another one, Rose? By the way, I know we're way over time, so if you guys have to go, go ahead and go. Otherwise, we'll
Is
keep going.
is there anywhere in here where it would actually give you what your sales are?
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think it gives you necessarily what your production has been for the year to date. It might. But I do know, and I kind of like this. I think this is this on the agent side as well?
Yes.
It gives you kind of this little dashboard based upon what you guys have already put in. Now again, this is another thing that's very important. I'm hoping you guys are going to utilize this. You put in someone put in or 13 people put in a transaction that with a closing date of October. Okay? So I, as the admin side, can take a look at this and say I've got 13 closings this month. We've got 12 active listings, 57 pendings. Okay? Of which 13 should close this month. And then expired escrows, that's a whole other deal, and expired listings. Now, nobody's closed anything yet, which makes sense because everyone just started using this here a couple days ago. Now, on your side, what does it say?
But I
Debbie?
did yesterday, so we're gonna get the stuff from escrow and do it.
It says the same stuff? Okay, so Debbie can now take a look at, hey, I've got 5 ready to close this month, and I got another 4 in the pipeline, whatever it happens to be. Now, what I tell you, which will cause heartburn, and I'm going to ask you guys to please, and you're only helping yourself, getting back to Rose's example, the sales price changed. Well, sometimes the close of escrow date changes. So if you think you're going to close on August or October 28th, and you find out, I'm going to extend it to November 5th, you need to go in, you need to change it. I'm hoping that you guys are going to look at this because you're going to be saying, oh, I got 4 closing this month. No, I don't. Let me go in, let me change this one to November so my numbers are right. Because, by the way, even those of you that are great about filling out sales reports are terrible, terrible about telling me, well, there's been a change. My close of escrow date's been kicked out 2 weeks. Nobody does that. Nobody. Which we do. And again, I don't. Frankly, if I was on your side of the desk, I'd be like, oh, I don't give a shit. That's your side. I'm selling real estate. I get that. So, which is why I kind of been really lax on sales reports. But at any rate, this will be kind of your guide. Under the close for the month, I don't know. If I sense it's 0, I'm assuming if I click on this 13, it's going to give me a list of the 13 that are scheduled to close. Yeah, okay, so these are the 13 that are scheduled to close. So I'm assuming if you had closed, you could click on that and it would tell you. And then there is an archive section, which I don't think we have anything in right now. But you can go to, do you have an archive button, Debbie?
Nothing is in there.
Does mine say?
Well, there's nothing in there because we haven't closed anything yet. But you guys, if you wanted to kind of go back and see, you again would click on the Access Archive button, and your transactions that you've closed will all be listed. And and it's going to give you a close date. So you could do a real quick glance. I'm assuming you could sort by date. Say I have closed, 17 this year or 2, whatever it has to be. And then of course you can click on the file. Okay, I went way longer than I expected, so I'm glad that most of you are still here. So anybody who's not beta testing that wants to start beta testing, if you fall into that category, shoot me an email or go see Anna. It takes 10 seconds to set you up. The goal is to do all of our testing between now and November 1, and then on November 1, we'll send out the memo and with everybody have a username or password, and we'll go from there. Okay.
We can add all our previous transactions from the beginning of the year.
If you want to, great question. Let me, if you wanted to go back, let's suppose you closed 12 deals this year, and you wanted to get them into the system, you create a transaction, 123 Main Street, fill out the basic info. You can scan the entire file. Let's suppose it's a 150-page file.
Okay.
You can scan that in, then you have a decision to make. If you just want to scan it in and just leave it as one big master, forget about the checklist, basically is what I'm saying. Just scan it in so it's there. You can then close the file out and be done with it. If you wanted to take the time, which would probably take you an hour or so,
Break it
to
down.
split it up and break it down and put it in the checklist, that's up to you. You can go ahead and
Now,
do
if
that.
you scan the entire file all at once,
Just say, well, if you actually have, actually, I've never done that.
Yeah.
I've only sent stuff in via email. Let's do another test.
Documents and,
Huh?
you create the
Well,
transaction and then go to documents and upload.
oops, this isn't complete. We can't. I was going to use Solaris deal, but I need to. Let's try these. Okay, go to the documents.
Would that cause on your side for somebody to have to review the file?
Yeah, probably, but that's okay. We'll work through that. Okay, I've got Danny's closed file up here, whatever it is. So you can email it. And by the way, I don't know if you guys realize this. From our scan. Oh, and this is another thing. Shelley mentioned the other day. I guess this machine, we're having trouble getting the defaults to stick to 200 DPI black and white text. Okay, apparently it defaults to auto color.
Right.
File sizes are a problem. Okay, you either need to manually set that one until we can figure out how to use the damn thing, or and you want to set it to 200 DPI, black and white text. Okay, that one, that's the default on the big one. From those machines, you can save it to the working folder and upload it. Basically, do an upload just like you would anything else. Or if you want, you can email. I don't know if you guys. I'm assuming you guys know this. You can email directly from these scanners. So you could type in, Milkoff 34880 at SkySlope, do your thing, and it'll just email it straight in there. Frankly, the agents in Redlands have fallen in love with that. Is anybody else doing that here? Okay. Otherwise, if you just have a PDF on the hard drive of your computer and you don't want to email it in, I've never done it, but I'm assuming you click the upload document and it just gives you a search box. Yeah, where's the document? You pick the document you want, you click open, and it puts it in. There is a 15 megabyte limitation, which is big. So if you have a file that is more than 15 megabytes, you cannot get it loaded. To give you an example, we've been scanning the big files, average files between 150 and 200 pages. If you scan that big file at 200 DPI black and white text, file size is about 7 megs. So you can get a big file into the system. If you do that same file in grayscale, it's 95 megs.
Right.
125.
If you do it in color, it's 7 gigs. Okay? So anyway, you can get a big file in there as long as you do 200 DPI black and white text.
What about the, I'm sorry guys.
No, that's
Can we
okay.
check
Hey,
it out
guys,
first?
I'll take questions as long as you have them. If you need to leave, then I apologize for you both in, folks, because we're commandeering your office, but
Have you worked on that yet?